area. If you head to our website, Thank you for tuning in to Exeter TV. Exeter TV is the town's public and government access channels, available on Comcast Channels 6 and 22. Channel 6 is your channel. If you have an idea for a program, want to host your own talk show, or submit a film, we're here to get your content on television. On Channel 22, we bring you live and replay coverage of government meetings and other town updates. A third channel, Blue Hawk Media, is operated by SAU 16 and can be found on Channel 8, with all your school sports, events, and meetings. You can watch Exeter TV online at exeternh.tv, Apple TV, and on Roku. Find us on social media for extra content. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell to get notified about live streams and new content. Tune in to our platforms every other Friday to watch the Exeter Bi-Weekly Report, with recaps of recent events, updates from town departments, and messages from nonprofits in your area. If you head to our website, exeternh.tv, we invite you to sign up to our newsletter to receive monthly updates about new content, upcoming meetings, and more. We'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch Exeter TV and hope that you tune in to our other content as well.
evening. Here we are. Welcome to the Zoning Board of Adjustment meeting for Tuesday, March 17th, 2026. Why is everybody hiding? Why are you all in the corner? You're near each other.
That's where the seats were.
Stay. You're fine. You're fine. You're fine. I'm just going to have to sit this way. All right. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Odd evening to have a meeting. So we have one application this evening as well as some other business, which is the approval of the minutes. But I'm going to start by introducing the members of the board and having a brief discussion about voting. To my far right, Kevin Baum. To my immediate right, Esther Olson-Murphy. Immediate left, Laura Davies, Laura Montagno, and Adam Carter. There are 6 voters, and I'm Bob Pryor, the chair. There are 6 members here this evening. Adam, are you okay at your first meeting to be non-voting this evening? But yeah. Okay, is that all right? Okay. Unless somebody else, no conflicts or anything? No, okay. But you are welcome to participate in the discussion, ask questions, etc. It's just when it comes down to voting, it'll be the 5 members toward the center that will be the voting members this evening. Okay, we're going to start with the application of Phillips Exeter Academy for a property located at 35-37 River Street, tax map 72 lot 99 in the R2 single family residential district. And this is a variance request. There are 2 separate requests. And I'm sure you won't be startled to hear that I'd like to treat these separately. So we're going to talk about the use variance first, the density, if you will, variance, and then we'll do separate vote for the setbacks.
Understood.
Okay,
Thank you, Mr.
good.
Chairman.
Please.
My name is Eli Lano. I'm an attorney with Bernstein Schur in Manchester. I'm joined tonight by Corey Belden from Altus Engineering, who is the project engineer, as well as Mark Layton, the facilities management director at Phillips Exeter Academy, as well as Heather Taylor, the campus planner and architect.
Okay.
Before we get into the 5 variance criteria, I think it's probably helpful for the board and the abutters to hear a little bit more about first the property and a bit of the design from Corey, and then Heather will go through a little bit of the engineering piece.
Okay. Keeping in mind, of course, that the elevation is strictly speculative at this stage, so we're not as concerned with this as we are with
Understood, but I think it does speak
scale
to
of the
character of neighborhood, et cetera.
Right. Thanks.
Hello, my name is Corey Belden with Altus Engineering. We are the civil engineers for the project. And as mentioned, this project is located on, it's really located on 2 tax maps, 7299, which is a 0.53 acre parcel, and 8301. The proposal would be to merge 7299 with 8301. 8301 is the parent parcel. So this lot is a 49 plus acre lot. The 0.35 acre lot, 7299, is located here. Will be merged together onto the parent lot, creating a roughly 49.35 acre lot. This lot really, we had some initial discussions. We had submitted in the setback variance request for both front and side. Our understanding is that Court Street is the frontage for this lot, and this will be a determination from the board whether or not this entire side is a side setback, or if there is a frontage setback along this side on River and Brown Court. So, but in general, this proposal is for 2 4-unit townhouses, as shown on here. This is the rough, again, preliminary plan for the building. Shows the scale and massing, 2-story, pretty typical townhouse style. Those will be located I'll go back to between River Street and Court Street in this area. The setback,
Between River Street and Browns Court.
what did I say? Browns Court, yeah,
Right,
I said
right,
Court Street, yeah,
yeah.
Browns Court, correct. So this building here, we are maintaining the full 15-foot side setback in this area. Both buildings are shown with a 20-foot, again, we had it as a front setback. We're not sure if this is frontage or side, if the whole thing is frontage or side. So we have the building setback 20 feet from each of the right-of-ways on Brown Court and River Street. The western building does have a 7.5-foot setback, and that is the relief that is being requested. We do obviously still need to go through site plan review. We've done some preliminary analysis, looking at some of the stormwater and how we're going to manage it. But we have no, we had done the design for the project back when the tennis courts and the Center for Theater and Dance and really the whole South Campus Master Plan development was done. There's existing rain gardens on the south side of the tennis courts. Over in this area, there's some stormwater facilities, so we really feel we have plenty of opportunity to meet all of the requirements. The site is served by both municipal sewer and water along Court Street and River Street. There will be a slight, let me go back to this site. So, part of on Brown Court, on the last unit here, we will extend Brown Court just a bit in order to fit the driveway in, staying within the town's right-of-way for Brown's Court. Very minor extension of Brown's Court. And, in general, if you've been to the site, there's a lot of very significant tall pine trees that are, really somewhat of a hazard to that area. Those will we are anticipating those to be removed, but any hardwoods that are, we do have the opportunity to preserve. We're looking to save those. There is a tree stand down in this area that should be able to be maintained for the project.
All right. Can I ask a quick question about the condition of the lot, just as you talk about the trees? I did walk down there, and I couldn't tell from the existing conditions plan, has there been any wetland delineation done?
So, yeah, the site was delineated for the entire South Campus Master Plan development.
When did that occur?
That was 2016.
Okay.
And we did have the survey updated and did not have any additional wetlands delineated for that. So.
Okay, so the wetlands were delineated in 2016?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and there was not anything in this on that site. The wetlands there were some delineated down in this area down here.
I just noticed it's very wet in the corner there right now. Now
Yeah.
it's now's the time it would be, whether there's wetlands or not, but I did want to.
Yeah, 3 feet of melting snow.
Right,
is a unique-
right, and it's
Certainly
in the
standing
last
water.
undeveloped spot in that area, everything is running there. But just curious, and I assume that would be required for planning if
Yes.
it moves forward.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Building on Mr. Baum's question, I notice on the map that there's a delineation for part of the lot is in the flood zone. Is in a flood zone?
The flood zone does extend. Let me go back to.
It seems to cover about 10 or 15% in the lower right-hand corner of the,
So the flood map, we have, let me go to the next. Here it is, yeah. The floodplain does come up. Now, the floodplain was There was a letter of map revision. The floodplain was revised after the dam was removed on the
The Great Dam.
Great Dam, correct. That dropped the level of the river by about 4.5 feet, and this was, the flood mapping was revised. So the floodplain in this area, I can't read it right here, I think it's at 28.8 feet on datum US, on the NAVD.
That's correct, 28.8 Zone AE.
Yeah, exactly. And 28.1 per NAVD 88 datum. So we have worked with the surveyor. We've had him, our survey is on the 88 datum. And so we've had the 28.1 delineated. And that 28.1, which is the floodplain elevation, comes up and really comes around this area and ends right about the end of of River Street. So
none of, it's hard to interpret from your plat here, which I guess is the same one you're showing, but it looks as though part of that zone does cut into the lower right-hand corner of your lot.
So again, yes, the floodplain is delineated, the FEMA flood mapping elevation is 28.1. However, our portion of the lot is higher than the 28.1. It's really, unfortunately, they map things at a sort of a 5,000 scale level and not based on actual survey data in an area. So you can have, a house at elevation 30, the floodplain is at 29, but the mapping for FEMA shows the house in the elevation. It's really above that elevation.
Right.
We're right at the end of a finger here, where really the floodplain, based on actual survey of this area, ends at the end of the driveway. So we've had have discussions. We met with Doug and talked about this, and we've had the surveyor. That's why we had them specifically put in on the existing conditions plan that based on the conversion of the 83 datum to the 88 datum, what that conversion is and what the floodplain elevation is based on our site survey
Yeah,
and
the
datum
floodplain
used.
data is sort of a rebuttable presumption where they have to do it at a wide enough level to make it feasible, but at the granular level, you can show that you're not under those.
We don't
elevations.
often work with floodplain data here. I think that
Planning
comes up
board.
in planning board
Yeah.
more than it
Right.
does in zoning board. I am curious as a general basis, however, since you're going to be merging this into a much larger parcel, the parcel is not impacted by the floodplain, it's the specific location within the parcel where there might be a restriction on construction?
So with the FEMA floodplain development, if you build in the floodplain, there are certain regulations that are basic requirements for a town to be able to be part of the flood insurance program. So if you are building in the floodplain and you are below those levels, you have to do certain things like having your HVAC systems off the ground. You have to have certain flood louvers, all these various things. But you can show, and you actually can if you can comply with fill requirements, which we're a little off the track here for this project. But
Right.
if you can raise your level, you don't have to do those. So in this spot where we can prove, and we'll obviously have that reviewed by the planning board, and if it's peer reviewed, that's great too, that we are above those elevations and therefore
Okay.
don't have to comply with that piece of building.
Thank you. Please continue, Corey.
Playing it engineer for you.
Do you have, was that the end of your presentation?
Did we answer your question on the flood? map?
Yeah, before we move on, does anybody else have any questions for engineering, for Altus, before we move on?
Yeah, Heather Taylor, who is, do you want to show us a little bit about what we're doing here? And I think one important thing she's going to do is speak to the scale of this development, because obviously we have understood concerns from the neighbors, having read this letter briefly before the hearing, that questions about what's being built and the size. And again, architectural is not your purview, but obviously fitting with the characteristics of the neighborhood are. So I think it's important.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. So we certainly.
Excuse me, you'd be at a mic so the people at home can hear you.
Sure, no worries. So just to point out, in building here, we obviously want to be good neighbors to our neighbors, but we are also trying to best utilize this area and sort of, again, we studied many ways of how to lay out housing in this area. In the end, this worked out. We felt in a way to be contextual, sort of coming to the faces of each of the streets. Oops, sorry. With the buildings along it, and we were very careful with the scale of the building. Sorry, I don't know where these things are set up.
I think it's maybe the last one.
Yes. So really trying to build, and again, this is an early elevation, but the height and the mass, it's really about the height and the massing. I think we're playing with clapboard and shingles and certain types of things. But again, we really wanted to make it a two-story house. This is not a tall townhouse that often is, a garage level plus 2 levels. We really made this 2 stories where the roof structure is really made. We've tried to break that down by using gables, the gable above the garage. Sorry.
Just add on.
Okay. Oh, there we go.
Chairman, we have some latecomers.
Okay.
So I don't know if you want to just.
Yeah.
They get seated.
Yeah, everybody come in, have a seat. No refreshments will be served.
Do we have enough chairs over here?
So,
Yeah, we can unstack the ones that are
Yeah.
back there, I think, if we need to. This is not a crowd.
By all means. You want this one? I warmed it up.
Welcome all.
Be able to see the, sir, excuse me, sir. You may want to sit here so you can see the screen. If you sit there, maybe you'll need to.
Sure.
All set.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So in talking about the scale of the buildings, yes, they are 4 units. We tried, and they are built as one building, but we very much, in the architecture and the scale, tried to make it look like 4 individual houses. Again, a 2-story building where we're utilizing the roof structure, using gables and dormers and porches to sort of bring down the scale and feel like it belongs into a residential neighborhood. So again, the thought is really about trying to be a good neighbor. Yes, there is the density, but it is, again, well within, in that whole area. If you look at other structures and our neighbors abutting, I think Mark is a 3-unit. The
Two butters are 2 for units, yeah.
2-3 units are abutters. So, and if you look at some of the other things on,
There's a lot of single-family homes that abut as well.
there are some
Yeah.
that are, yes, we own one of the buildings. Yes.
No, no,
Wait,
no.
Ma'am, later.
So that's really all I have. Again, the scale of the building, it speaks for itself, and this is a 2-story.
Could you confirm how many
Hey, can we all hang on for a sec? I just want to do something. For all the people who have joined us this evening, we're in the initial phase where the board we hear an application, the board gets to question the applicant, and then we will open it up to the public. I will announce that at some point. Each member of the public who would like to speak is welcome to do so. You'll go to the microphone. You're addressing the board, even though your questions are obviously going to be replied to by the applicant. And then we'll close public session. Again, for everybody here, we get to talk, but that's later on. Please. Questions from the board?
Can you confirm how many bedrooms are in each unit?
3 bedrooms.
Thank you.
So you mentioned that there are other multi-unit buildings. Could you possibly go back to the tax map and indicate locations?
So this is our neighbor right here. I believe that's the one, Mark. Mark, you might be better suited to, you've gone through this.
So it might be a better, sorry.
Do we have the other slide?
Mark Layden, Director of Facilities. Excuse me. How do we go back?
might be helpful.
So is this better? Use this tax map here, so.
No, you can't see them in that map at all.
Mark, I think we should pull up the other one that we delineated that shows them a little bit clearer, as well as the academies, the ones they own in the area.
The application did not include, as it usually does.
GIS, yeah, I don't know why
tax.
that's not in there.
Okay,
This should have been part of the application. This would clearly.
I agree.
okay.
Ms. Olson Murphy managed to print it out.
All those years in GIS.
Where's the, you have the pointer? Cory?
No, it's right.
It's part of your clicker, Mark.
Got it. Okay, thank you. So you, obviously you can see here, this is what we're proposing. This is Academy property here. This is a three-unit building. This is a 3-unit. I believe this is a 2-unit, but I can't speak to that. I know it's a rental. And then I'm not sure what this one is here, but I believe, and then across the street, there's several multifamily.
And what about on River?
On River, I can't speak to that on River. I'm not sure what's here for multifamilies.
The building that's just north of the right-hand orange is a single family. If you move your clicker
This one?
now to the left, Mark,
That's a single family.
that's a single family.
Yep.
And I believe that every building on River Street is a single family.
That I can't speak to.
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
but
one of them I couldn't figure out.
Yeah, I'm
I
not
feel like there might be
sure.
one. I thought that this was converted up here to a 2-family.
I think there might be one, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
We might hear that from abutters. They might be able to give us more accurate information. I have a feeling that River Street is well represented in the audience this evening.
Yeah. And of course, this is on Court Street, but these are multifamilies here.
Correct. Now, your O'Neill Court housing, those are all single families, are they not?
These are single family, but this is a duplex here,
Okay,
and the rest are single family.
okay. All right, thank you. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Any other questions from the board thus far?
Just, if we could you bring the elevation up again? And I know it's not, I know it's preliminary. I just want to make sure I'm reading it correctly.
Sure. Sure. Well, just do the application.
Well, I guess I should ask too. I mean, I know these are preliminary, although you've presented them as part of the context. So, you're asking us to rely on them. So, let me ask 2 questions. One is, understanding that ultimately you would have site plan review and you will have more design. But how far along are you on design? Because if we are going to consider this as part of the character of the neighborhood, we need to rely on it and know that it's not going to completely change.
Yeah, no, the massing is set. I think the things that we're looking at is we're looking at whether or not we have side lights or whether we have clapboards or shingles, so we're into the details.
Yep.
It's not the mass of the building.
But the general design and massing is
we wouldn't
okay.
be here if we weren't at that stage.
Yeah, and so I think, just to be clear, I think I think we'd be relying on that, and I would expect that as a condition, if it gets that far, that it would be in substantial conformance. I don't know that it will, but just to be clear. And so I understand as well, I understand you've modified it to, sort of soften the massing, but it does look like there is a solid ridge across. Am I reading the plan correctly?
What is the solid line across the top?
Yeah.
That is the ridge.
So, and that's 126 feet. If I'm looking at the,
No, I hope not.
I don't think it's.
that's what's shown on the site, the ZBA.
I don't
site
think you
plan.
meant to say 126.
No, the length of the
Oh,
building.
the length is 126.
Not length,
yeah.
certainly not height.
Height, I was like,
No.
Lord, Kevin.
There'd be more requests for relief.
Questions.
Yeah,
Might need a height variance.
Right.
Might need a height variance.
yeah. Okay, I just want to make sure because the way it lays out on the overview, I want to just make sure I'm reading it correctly. So,
Yes.
thank you.
All right. So
He's got his own.
Yeah, he's got his own. He doesn't need that. Over to you. And if you'd introduce yourself again, please.
Yes, Eli Leno. I'm with Bernstein.
How do you spell your last name, since I don't-
Leino.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, you can, if you want to put that plan up, that'd be great. So getting into the 5 variance criteria of 674-33 with regard to the multifamily use. The variance will not be contrary to the public interest. To be contrary to the public interest, the state Supreme Court has held that a variance either needs to, in a marked degree, conflict with the ordinance, such that it violates its basic zoning objectives, and that there are 2 methods for determining this, which are that it changes the essential character of the neighborhood, or that it violates health, safety, and welfare thereof. So we can have, I'm sure, a difference in agreement, a difference in understanding of what the essential character of this neighborhood is. But I think that being in this R2 zone, which allows for duplex housing, coupled with the fact that there is a proliferation of multifamily houses in the general area, this is an opportunity where we're building residential in residential. We are on the edge of the existing campus, so it's a bit of a buffer between obviously the athletic facility and the tennis court into a residential use, which I do think fits the residential character of this neighborhood. And then in terms of thinking about the general size of this, we'll get into the 5th criteria and the unique special characteristics of this lot, but while you're looking at it, River Street will be affected by 4 of these units, and Browns Court will be affected by 4 of these units. So it's not that it's an overwhelming mass of 8 units entering on either of those city-owned streets. So I think it's something to speak that it mitigates some of the effect of the building on the essential character of the neighborhood. With regard to health, safety, and welfare, again, there is really nothing terribly unusual about this proposal. It's smaller than many of the things that have been built in other locations in town, several of which we all drove by on our way to this building tonight. Has the opportunity to connect to city sewer and water, so there's not a situation where we're into well setbacks or any leach field setbacks, any of those kind of things that have an effect on health or safety. We do have public utilities. Additionally, there is sufficient parking here because there is the garage under in each of these units, as well as parking on that 20-foot driveway. So there's room safely for 2 cars easily for each of these. But it's worth noting in terms of health, safety, and welfare and character of the neighborhood, many of these will be, each of these will have at least one adult who works at the academy. So one person who most likely will commute to work via walking or potentially biking, opportunity where we're not adding a huge amount of car trips there. And if they have a spouse or someone, maybe there is another person leaving, but it's not necessarily an inordinate number of car trips. To that, and I think it's interesting to just discuss the housing facts that Phillips Exeter currently has, which is that it is currently operating 15 multifamily buildings, which is 35 units, 47 single-family buildings, and 68 dormitory units. So it has 150 housing units on campus. Each faculty member is required to do what they call 10 years of dorm duty, which is exactly as it sounds, and it looks like you're pretty familiar with this. So requirement to be there, can do up to 15 years in the dorm in order to then have on-campus housing like this. And then some of the, let's say, more mature faculty will eventually move off campus into their own private home. What that creates is an issue where when those folks retire from the school, they're not freeing up a space in the dorm. So as more teachers are added or more positions are added that have housing included, there's a lack of bedrooms. And I also think it's worth noting that, of course, you hear about it probably every meeting at this point, that we are in a housing crunch in New Hampshire, particularly as we approach the seacoast like we are here, where a steady rental rate is a 5% vacancy for the New Hampshire Housing Finance Authority. We're at something like 0.5%, so that every person that the school doesn't have an opportunity to house is someone who goes directly into either Exeter or the surrounding towns to live in a market apartment and takes another spot. So this is an opportunity where we have building on campus, not changing the essential character of the neighborhood, the ability to add 8 housing units. So I think that's an important consideration when thinking about public health, safety, and welfare. Spirit of the ordinance. This is a related criteria to the first, and I think it's worth noting here again that Cluster development is contemplated in the R2 zone of the ordinance. We have a somewhat unusual scenario here. Again, as we'll discuss special characteristics of this lot, this is a campus that has certainly been here for a long time and has evolved and grown, but it's not so far off what the ordinance expects in terms of right next to it are tennis courts, also zoned R2, and Love Gym zoned R2. Probably an opportunity for an overlay zone. I know it's been considered over the years that maybe the school should have something that reflects what is there on the ground, but this, again, while you consider the essential character of the ordinance, we're building residential in a residential zone, and I don't know that you get too much closer to the direct correlation on that. Substantial justice, this is a balancing test between any loss to the individual that's not outweighed by a gain to the general public is an injustice, and whether the proposed development is consistent with the area's present use. So again, we have two buildings here, 4 units, directly abutting 3 unit, 3 unit, 3 unit, bigger across the street. I think that consideration of the area's present use, and again, I understand that the neighbors on River Street do have single-family homes. I understand that. But they're not in a planned unit development where everything was going to be a single-family home in perpetuity. There's an opportunity for neighborhoods to grow and fluctuate, and we see that throughout the state at this point, where we don't have very many places to put reasonable housing right now, and that's part of why things are so expensive. So we have an opportunity to build on this lot, which is a bit of a hanger-on parcel to the campus, and really add something good, built at a scale where these things are not the 3-story townhomes on Court Street that are gonna dwarf the neighbor and, block out the sun. These are the same height, an opportunity to have new neighbors here without overwhelming the neighborhood. So I do think substantial justice is done here because it's an opportunity for the school to add faculty housing, which is critical for its mission of educating these children, while also adding housing units so that they are not competing with the general public here in Exeter. It's an opportunity to do some good for this on a piece of property that doesn't have a whole lot of other uses that make a lot of sense. Values of surrounding property are not diminished. Again, the campus is probably the biggest feature in town here by pure mass. It's something large, and this is a de minimis addition to that campus. I understand, again, from reviewing the abutters letter that, yes, we didn't deign to provide you a broker's letter here. I know that that's become something in the lawyerly trade of I can get that and I can weigh this every time and say, well, look, I have expert evidence. But this is one of those opportunities where you fundamentally know what's going to affect the value of a neighborhood. And new builds very infrequently, if ever, are going to lower the value of neighborhood property, especially while what you have here is what looks a little bit like an unused field. It has a not terribly beautiful chain link fence securing the campus there. We have an opportunity to build something nice, build something to building code with first-class materials, really spruce it up, and that will be something that people will notice that, oh, that's a nice project, as opposed to sort of these retrofitted 1970s multifamilies that are there that are not maybe the most eye-catching or value-adding properties in this neighborhood. So I think that with this board being expert in this to some degree, I don't know if any of you are brokers, but sometimes that's an opportunity. But you do have this opportunity to look at this and see what generally is going to affect property values. And this is not the kind of thing that is going to negatively do that. And then literal enforcement of the provisions of the ordinance would result in an unnecessary hardship. Again, I think it's a good quote from Belanger versus Nashua that while we recognize the desired interrelationship between the establishment of a plan for community development and zoning, we believe that municipalities must have their zoning ordinances reflect the current character of neighborhoods. We've talked about this. We will certainly hear what I'm expecting to be competing testimony about the nature of this neighborhood. But you can look on the plans in front of you, and you can look on that GIS map and see that there are a significant number of multifamilies here, many of which are bulkier and taller than the buildings that we're proposing because we are trying to be good neighbors and build to this. But this is not a pure single-family neighborhood. The dominant characteristic here is that we have this campus, including these tennis courts and all the other single-family housing built on O'Neill Court, that makes this a reasonable place for us to add faculty housing because it is an unusual stub of this property, that being connected to the campus but not necessarily in the heart of the campus, having frontage on Browns Court and River Street, which gives the opportunity not to mass cars on only one street, really reducing those things so that it's the 4 and 4 piece of it, coupled with the fact that, I don't know if you've been out by tennis courts in the summer, they're relatively loud. This offers a bit of a buffer between residential uses that aren't owned by the school and school property, which will basically take the brunt of that noise. And in terms of the use being reasonable, which is the second piece of the 5th criteria, confluence of factors makes this lot a reasonable place for what we're proposing here. And I do think it really is a great project if built at a reasonable density so that it can add those units to the housing stock for the school, keep certain additional bedrooms in Exeter so that someone else can rent those wherever else they may be, and is going to be a good-looking project that'll be valuable to the community. I'm happy, of course, to answer any questions you may have on the use criteria.
Thank you very much, Mr. Leno. Let me begin, if I may, with the last, with 5. A hardship exists when special conditions of the land render the use for which the variance is sought reasonable. You did not address that in your comments. I'm trying to determine where the hardship exists. There's nothing about this parcel that you addressed that creates the hardship. So where's the hardship?
Yeah, the hardship here is that this is a piece of this campus that's incompatible for development for nearly anything else that the institution needs here. It's a spot where you can only build. It doesn't make sense to put more tennis courts in this residential neighborhood, other things, because the gym complex is really the closest stuff to here. It's too small for a new lacrosse field. It's not going to fit baseball. It's a perfect spot for residences. So that use is reasonable because we're in the R2 residential zone. Opportunity, because we're constricted on what can be done here, that it really reduces the amount of things that make sense. And again, building to a smaller degree doesn't really help you, especially in a zone where you're allowed to do cluster development. And when connected to this whole parcel, we're close to 50 acres.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from members of the board?
Yeah, I have a sort of similar question to bounce off of that. I'm just to be frank, struggling a little bit with how you got to the density.
Yeah.
I appreciate the cluster argument. I'm not sure I buy it. I don't think it really applies here. That would, a cluster requires actually additional setbacks and vegetative buffers, and that's not what's going in here. Nor, this is already developed, although it's developed for sports fields, so it's not like you're protecting the area. That said, I do acknowledge there are other multifamilies in the area. What I'm struggling with most here is how we get to 8. When you look around the neighborhood and it just seems like, yes, there are other multifamilies, but not at this scale. Yes, it is it's the R2 zone, which contemplates residential, but single family and duplex. And so, these are 4 units. And you didn't really speak to. I think you spoke generally to there's some reasonableness because of the area around has multifamily, but I don't get the sense that it's at this level of density. So if you could speak to that.
Yeah, I think that in looking at this lot, which is undeveloped within a surrounding neighborhood of developed items, if you go around, you have duplex, building owned by the school, so we're not having an effect on that. That's the same user. Triplex, triplex, triplex. So that's 12 units right there, right?
12 units on multiple, well, are you talking on multiple lots, though?
Yes, I understand that, but it's still not that any of these are zoning compliant lots now. These are relatively small lots that are all triplex, triplex, triplex. 12 units fits right there based on the characteristics of the neighborhood, especially the fact that we're exiting on multiple streets. I don't think it's a stretch to say 8 units fits right there. And again, with the same way that if we have 4 single-family units over here, 5 single-family units over here on River Street, there's now 5 on that stretch of River Street in terms of adding cars if you're on the right-hand side of the plan, so on the east. And with our unit here, it's 5 units plus the other one that we don't
Do you want to
own.
bring up, would you mind bringing up on the, are you able to bring that up on the screen? That might be helpful so
Yeah,
everyone can see it. And
Which,
I'm not sure I have the plan you're
I
referring
think
to either.
I've got there and kind of written in, that's 3-3. But yeah, but that's a big area.
Right.
So yeah,
So it's that.
Yeah, but still.
But yeah.
stretch my legs for a second. So in terms of reasonableness, again, if we're duplex here, this doesn't really count because it's our own. And then triplex, 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 all exiting on River Street.
It's
And-
your own, but it's on a separate parcel, so it's not, we do consider that a single family. So let's just talk about it as a single family.
That's fine. And then on this, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up to the River Street extension end. And here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the opportunity to say that this somehow overwhelms this street would mean that 5 single-family houses on the other side similarly overwhelms this street. And I don't think that any of these neighbors would say that's true either.
I don't think anyone here used the word overwhelms except for you so far. I don't think it's overwhelming, but it does, I think a density is a legitimate question to ask. So overwhelming, no. Changing, possibly.
Absolutely, but I think the purpose of this development is to have, reasonable change. I don't think anyone expects the status quo to stick forever.
I didn't see the calculation in here. I assume you've done a coverage density for the, or, see, no, this is kind of interesting.
this
So
is-
this actually, let
Okay.
me stop. When we talk about lot, when either of you uses the term lot, are we talking about just this little area that's being impacted and changed, or are we talking about 50-something acres that stretches all the way out and touches Court Street in about 6 places?
Correct. This proposal is to merge lot 7299 with 8301. So the small third acre lot will be merged with the 49-acre lot. It's going to become one large lot. So right now, there's, as shown on the lot, there's about, I think that's 10 faculty housing units currently on the lot. This will add 8 more. There'll be 18 total residential units on the 49-plus acre lot. So if you're doing sort of a residential density
There'll actually be
count-
more than that because there are houses off of Chadwick Lane that are part of the lot as well, and 2 off of Court Street
Those
and
are the
Marston
calcs
Street.
we had, but I don't know what's
So there are,
above.
there
So
are more.
there's a few, right? But you're looking at, a unit per 100,000 square feet per square feet, not one per 15,000, which is the requirement. So as far as density on a lot, we're sort of.
Yeah, I think it's
not-
density in the
not a-
neighborhood.
It's a different.
Yeah,
you
and
know, what we're looking at is a 4-unit building, right? A 4-unit.
I guess it was
within
trying to draw-
That's
within
what-
this neighborhood is
Within
how
this
I'm.
neighborhood.
Within this
Right.
neighborhood, I guess what I
think
was
that's
contrasting,
fine.
and I don't have a, that's what we need. We need a pointer over
We
here.
do need a laser pointer.
So,
RORs?
I think I keep joking. I think what we're contrasting it with in our mind's eye especially, is the fact that, for example, the building at the corner of River Street Extension and Browns Court has far less coverage of it may be a multifamily, but it's a relatively modestly sized building compared to its lot, as yours are. We can't really say this is a lot of 50-something acres. We know it is. But what we're really dealing with is the impact on this area. And so it's a very localized sort of situation.
Yeah.
Even though the lot is, it extends for a quarter mile or whatever it is out to the other end of town practically.
Yeah, and I agree with you entirely, and I think I've probably been a little loose in using lot to mean this area as opposed to the merge.
That's kind of why I questioned it, because
Yeah.
I heard it being used two different ways.
Right.
And I don't want to use lot one way to benefit you and then another way to benefit you, which is kind of how I was hearing. We'll call it a lot. We'll call it a lot for density. Oh, look at this.
Yeah.
Seek and you shall find.
New toys.
Awesome toys. I'm not sharing, I'm sharing. That's interesting because, okay, now I got to use it, that I've got it. Thanks, Doug, appreciate it. This is the building I was thinking of, which is a multifamily, but its lot is pretty extensive, and it's got small coverage, even though there's a garage there.
Well, small coverage in terms of
Percentage
building, but
of-
their impervious coverage is probably even similar to this, where we have this backyard.
Right.
Yep.
Okay,
That's a lot of pavement over there.
yep. Anyway, this is what we're talking, but you've got a lot of pavement too, come on.
The tennis courts.
Tennis courts are they paved?
Well,
They're
there.
impervious, I don't know how
They're
pervious
impervious,
they're.
they're not clay courts. I don't think so. Anyway, they're asphalt courts. Okay, any other questions from the board? I'm rambling and playing with my new pointer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who gave you that?
Yeah, I know.
We're going to have to take it back.
Yeah, we're gonna have to take it back. Just try. Any other questions from the board?
Well,
Laura?
I just, with this discussion about whether we're considering the bigger lot for lot coverage and legal purposes, it is part of the larger lot, but it will be accessed and it will feel like a separate lot that is part of the River Street and Browns Court neighborhood. And, when a property is fronts on and accessed by road, and it's kind of isolated from its legal frontage by such a large distance, that's why we're having this conversation. And I'm not saying you're trying to obscure that, it's just, there's the legal and then there's the practical, and this is, practically speaking, going to be part of this neighborhood.
Yeah.
And it needs to fit into this neighborhood and work with the neighborhood.
Yeah, and again, no disagreement on that at all, which is again why we've tried to build these at a height that makes sense using, again, it's not your purview other than about the neighborhood. First-class materials, try to build this in a style that will fit in here better, frankly, if you're saying that the neighborhood is what River Street sees looking west. These are still going to be nicer than some of the other stuff that's already there.
Probably, they will be very nice. I don't doubt that. I'm sure the Academy will do a nice job with them. But, we're talking about massing, and I do think that the scale of, the height and the roof lines and so forth are attractive. But I take Kevin's point that it's 126 feet of solid building, too. So just things that we want to consider.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Laura?
Yeah, I also wanted to just further talk about the value of the surrounding neighborhoods, and I agree from an appearance perspective. They're very attractive buildings, and that will not detract and impact value. But I'd like you to speak to the fact that this is a dead-end street, a very narrow street. When I went to visit it, I actually had to turn around in an abutter's driveway in order to turn around. And I guess my question is, does that not impact value?
So I have also driven down both of these streets, and I think one question about the value there is that, I guess one question about navigability of this lot is that we will add the driveways, and you conceivably would, if you're the teacher that's living in this, turn around in your own driveway. I don't think the street is so unduly narrow that we're on a cart track here.
Well,
So
I think
don't
that
know how
addresses residents, but I don't think it addresses contractors coming in. It doesn't address guests. It doesn't address when there's snow and it's encroaching in on the streets. All of that, to me, would also impact value.
Yeah, certainly contractor is a temporary condition. I do understand your point, but they obviously have a duty to keep this road open and safe for public safety purposes. So that's something that they'd absolutely need to focus on. And then snow storage here, again, planning board question, but I understand your point, is I don't think in terms of shoveling off your driveway onto the side of the road, or being that these are accepted town streets, same as pretty much all the rest of us that live in a single-family house or a multifamily house without an association, if it gets plowed, you then open your driveway back up with your shovel. So I don't see an issue for our lots negatively affecting other lots. We're not storing snow on their lots. I'm not trying to be obtuse here. I just don't understand.
I know that I understand snow removal and all that's covered under planning. I'm just thinking about, we're making a decision to allow you to put 8 houses on this that obviously are going to have more cars, more traffic. So we have to take that into consideration. Regardless of where the snow is, it all impacts our decision.
Yeah, and again, I think it's RSA 674-33 as adopted is basically the codification of the simplex case. And before simplex, the standard was Boschia, which was that if you couldn't do anything with your lot, you could get a variance. And the Supreme Court looked at that and said that is an incredibly strict standard that doesn't really make sense. So then after, with the simplex case, whereas before simplex, hardship existed only when special condition of the land rendered it uniquely unsuitable for a use for which it was zoned. After simplex, and then with the codification of 674-33, hardship exists when special conditions of the land render the use for which the variance is sought reasonable. So it's an opportunity that it's not that nothing can be done here, and this is citing Harborside Associates versus Parade residents. It's that in looking at what we can build on the land and in the totality of the circumstance where we do have the need for housing at the school, we have the need for housing community-wide, this is a reasonable use where rather than building the same number of units in something taller and saying, okay, we'll mass the same way some of these other condo developments are going up, we look to try to find a reasonable use that gets adequate density for what we're trying to do. It is a big capital undertaking, certainly, and that's not the point of this, but also you want to build something that isn't going to be immediately obsolete for the school's use. It's a nice opportunity to have this, and then I do think that special characteristic of the property is 2 dead-end streets. So you can already expect dead-end streets have a tendency to be quieter than through roads just by the nature of them, and the fact that we will have 4 units on each side. So really, someone living in this unit is never going to have a reason to drive on Brown's Court. So it segments itself pretty well, which is absolutely a special characteristic of this, dare I say, lot, meaning this neighborhood area.
So this is where we're getting into the conflict here, because you're using it to your advantage. And this is where I'm having a real problem. Special conditions of the lot. The lot is 50, how many acres? I'm sorry, I don't want to keep saying.
Almost 50. It's
It's
like
just about
49.
49 and change.
Thank you. If I can say 50 and be safe, okay.
Yeah.
There are no special conditions of the 49-acre lot that qualify as hardship.
I think the special condition of the lot is that it's probably the biggest lot, unless the other side of the street is, probably just about the biggest.
But it's already been developed by merging it into the other, right?
Right.
And we're talking about then, I'm having trouble determining where the hardship exists.
But then what we do have.
And you can get hardship by saying, well, this lot is a pork chop lot or something like that. That's much more obvious, right? But this is not. This is a 50-acre parcel.
So, I
So
blew it. How do you do the laser?
Special condition.
So we have this lot here, and I'm using lot by its legal definition of that is a lot.
But that lot ceases to exist under the terms of this application.
And without the relief requested, there's nothing we can do with this.
Yeah, you can. Build a single-family home on it.
I don't even know if we can build a compliant single-family home on it. I don't think it meets setbacks. And again, it's not that we can't do nothing, it's that we can do, yes, understood.
Right.
But the point is, we do have 2 lots here, and
Well, yes, you've got 7299, which is a little tiny half of that.
That little bump out.
the top half of the bump out, right. But that doesn't exist in this application anymore. This application is saying we will merge.
Yeah, as a condition.
As a condition of
approval.
approval, we would say you must merge, right.
Right.
So
it's
now
a
you're telling us
50-acre
you
lot.
can't fit a single-family home on a 50-acre lot.
I think,
No.
again, that's not obviously what we said. But I
know.
do think what
But-
it comes down to is zoning needs to reflect the reality of it. You have a world-class preparatory school here, and it's a unique lot.
Yeah. He knows why I did that.
I do. So, those tennis courts shouldn't be R2. That gym shouldn't be R2. Your zoning is a little bit obsolete with
But-
regard to Phillips Exeter.
But I don't think that affects this request, though. I mean, I don't necessarily disagree that having, an overlay for the academy might make sense, but I don't think that affects this. I mean, this is a lot that sticks out into this neighborhood. I mean, in my mind, this existing lot and the lot that you're going to create, that is R2. I mean, I think that's appropriately R2. You're not really incorporating, and this is actually a question I wanted to get to because you brought it up with the dead-end streets. It really isn't incorporated in. It's incorporated into the neighborhood, the River Street and Brown Court neighborhood. It's not incorporated into the academy.
Yeah, it's not part of the academy.
Or if it is, it'd be helpful to explain that because right now it's fenced off. There really isn't a throughway. So I've tried. I've been stuck at that fence. There isn't a throughway that goes from either River Street to Brown's Court onto the academy property. And so, I mean, to me, I don't. Yeah, again, I don't think the academy piece and whether that should be zoned differently really comes into play here. To me, this is R2 and appropriately so, where you're dealing right and smack dab in the middle of this existing residential neighborhood.
Which is, was there a question? I'm sorry.
Fair enough. I guess what I would ask is if you are saying that this is going to be incorporated into the overall academy campus, if you could explain that might be helpful.
Well, I think that this serves a critical use for the academy as discussed, where there is a need for housing on campus and directly sort of abutting this piece of the campus. But at the other side of it, with you saying that it's R2, I think that's also noted by the fact that we're not trying to construct a dormitory or something here. We have taken that into consideration, that we do need to be the buffer between the campus at large and these athletic facilities, which are built to an enormous scale out of concrete for reasons I never really understood, but I didn't go here. They have the opportunity to build something nice that looks more like what is existing in the neighborhood.
Thanks.
How, you talk about how the people who work here will walk to work because campus is right there. How will they access campus from those units? Because currently it is fenced off and you cannot access campus from those units.
Yeah, so the fence is obviously there because this isn't really developed, and it makes having this separated from just the community at large is a reasonable thing here. There will be opportunities for either having key fob access for those folks to walk right through campus, or we can consider this. It's a planning board question, and I'm
Yeah,
not trying
I'm
to
just trying to-
duck you, but yes, of course, that we can't say that they'll walk to campus and then have a fence that they can't have.
Exactly, that's
that
what-
will be taken care of.
Yeah, we have to assume there'll be the number of vehicles appropriate for 8 living units with 3 bedrooms each on this, and that all of the vehicular traffic will exit on
Yeah,
one of those 2
exactly, yeah.
streets out onto Court, as opposed to pedestrian traffic, which may in fact be on campus. Adam, do you have any questions before we move on? Are you happy sitting down there, or you got some questions?
Yeah,
for us?
no, I'm happy sitting down here. I think it's interesting. I don't really have any questions at this point. I think it's
Okay.
just notable that a lot of the multifamily properties that you're talking about and noting are 2 and 3 family, 2 and 3 family homes, but all of them are, I believe, to be previously single family homes, or appear to be single family homes that have been renovated.
Partition, Jim.
Yeah, inverted.
This kind of scale of this is, significantly larger than a single family home that's been renovated into a three unit home.
Yeah, again, having been in this neighborhood I don't think these are looking like beautiful Victorians that happen to have multiple units. They have all of the fire escapes required for modern fire code, et cetera. They're pretty obviously multifamily.
I'm sorry. Tell me if I'm out of line. You keep talking down to these multifamily unit buildings like this is going to be so much better than those. I find that disrespectful to the people who live there, and I understand what you're trying to say, but if word it differently, maybe just stop saying, well, obviously this is going to look so much better than them. I find that very rude to the residents that are sitting right behind you.
Understood, and
Thank
I
you.
apologize. I did have the sense that many of our residents here tonight were on the River Street homes, but yes, understood.
But the people who live in those houses.
Yeah, they live in these neighborhoods.
They're
These are-
residents of Exeter, whether they're represented here this evening or not.
Understood.
We represent them.
But at the same point, I think that these are rental homes. The owners of these, I don't know, are offended by my comment. Again, I'm not here to fight that fight.
Right.
Yeah.
But the point is, we are building something in 2026 or 2027, modern, first class, new.
Yeah.
And you can look at any of the comps that I think new builds sell at something like a 20% bump on the same footprint per square foot. So
I think for me, it gets the question, and again, I think you've addressed it. It gets more to the massing issue. If these are broken up in a different way, you have a variety of sizes, and as opposed to, and I have no question, these will be probably very nicely built, consistent with other projects the Academy has done. But it is. Though I really appreciate the reduced height, it is still a large, long mass. So.
I'm going to use the clicker one last time. And slightly side issue, but since we're kind of talking about the conditions and the implication being the Academy's does a very first-class job, can one of the four of you address the plans for this single-family home which you own here, whose condition is less than stellar, appearance-wise?
that's offensive.
Mark, I'm sorry.
So, can you say that again, Chairman?
Yeah, I was just wondering if you had any plans, because you do own this single-family home here, which is on a separate lot, I assume. And much is being made of the condition of some of the other buildings. The condition of this home is not stellar. And I'm just curious if you had any plans for this parcel.
I mean, we always have plans for all of our parcels, so, I mean, we look at this every year as far as what we need to do for upkeep. If you're suggesting that property alone needs to have better upkeep, we'll take a look at it and see. But yeah, I mean, we try to maintain our property at a high level. We'll look at that and see if that's something that needs to happen, but we feel like we do on all of our property.
I know you do, which is why I was really surprised to note an Academy Square ownership sticker on it, because it really surprised me.
Okay.
Thank you, Mark. I
Thank you.
appreciate that.
Point taken.
Are there any further questions from the board in the interest of time? If not, I thought we might move on to public, but
I have-
Kevin, or Laura, I don't want to, Laura Davis?
I actually had a small question of fact. I think you mentioned briefly that there might be an extension of the public right-of-way on Browns Court to allow access to maybe the southernmost unit.
Not,
Is that what?
not an extension of the right-of-way, only extension of the pavement, but staying within the right-of-way. If you see, well, I'll try to do it on this one, but Browns Court ends right about right there, and you can see the lighter color pavement. It would just be extended maybe 20 or 30 feet.
So within
in order
the public-
to get within the right of way. We can't go any further. The right of way would end. So that's this southern driveway would connect into that. It'd just be extending the pavement down a bit for that for that driveway.
And
So
then,
it wouldn't increase the public right-of-way?
No right of way. No, we're completely within the right of way.
Well, it would increase the public road.
The road
The
pavement.
built road,
the
but it
pavement
would.
will
the built
extend
road.
another
Yeah, okay.
however many feet.
Right.
But the right-of-way
Again.
exists. Okay, thank you.
Planning
That's
board.
helpful to me. I'm a right-of-way person, so ask these weird questions.
Any further questions?
I do have
Yeah,
one more thing.
oh,
So, everybody, I think, especially people in Exeter, think of the Academy as this, permanent forever institution, and it has been, and it probably will be, but just as a point of clarification, we're talking about this as faculty housing. Is there any legal commitment to how the housing will be utilized in the future?
It's a fair question that I hadn't honestly thought of at all. I'm sure that we could restrict that as a condition of approval.
I guess, can you clarify what you mean by legal requirement for faculty housing?
Legal commitment. So, I'm sure that there will be a demand for faculty housing for the foreseeable future, but at some future date, if the academy wished to condo this and sell it, or do some other type of rental housing, or Airbnb it for that matter, is there any legal commitment to the use as faculty housing contemplated?
Yeah, I mean, all I can say is that we have sold other residential property in the past, and I mean, I can't say that we'll always have this property. I mean, it's just not something that all I can say is that we need, as Eli had mentioned earlier, that we are short of faculty housing. We need faculty housing. So it's, I think, something to this size, I would anticipate that we would have forever. We are looking at our campus as a whole and trying to consolidate. So we've sold property in the last couple of years to try to bring our campus closer. And so I'm not answering your question very well because I can't lock the campus in forever as far as that. But,
yeah, I understand you're not prepared to commit the institution to something that you haven't already discussed with them, so that's fair, but I just wanted to raise that question. We deal with Riverwoods, we deal with other large groups, and they act like they will exist in perpetuity no matter what, and things do change, I mean.
And I think that's, we can talk internally whether there's this piece that we can say that we'll never give up, but it's just one of those things that, 50 years from now, I can't
Sure.
say what
Okay.
it's going to be. Right?
And if I can just speak shortly to that point, this parcel, this is part of that 55-acre parcel. If there was ever a sale of that, it would have to be subdivided.
Fair.
And it would be creating a non-conforming lot because the density would be higher.
Good point.
So then they would be back to this board to ask for that subdivision approval for subdividing that piece off.
Good point. Thank you.
So the nature of the parcel means it's probably going to continue to be exactly what it is.
Unless they seek further approvals or relief or something. So, yeah, that's a good answer. Thank
Final
you.
survey of the members. Any questions before we move to public? Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. We're going to move to the public. Gentlemen and
Do
lady,
you have a sit
sorry.
down or?
We'll move to public.
You can stay.
You can
put.
Stay.
Okay.
So we're going to open up the public. They'll have their comments. You have a chance, obviously, to rebut any questions that come up or to answer any questions. Members of the public who'd like to speak do not have to raise their hand. It's a scrum. Whoever gets to the microphone first can have it. Oh, boy, somebody shot out of their chair. Please give us your name and your address, and thank you.
My name is Joe Fisher. My wife and I moved down to River Street 42 years ago. We still live there.
Newcomers, huh?
Raised 2 children and flooded out of our house 4 times.
Mr. Fisher, what is your address?
36 River Street.
Thank you.
My house is right across the street from the majority, I think probably 3 of the units. A couple of things that every house on River Street has been significantly fixed up, and we will enhance whatever the academy builds across the roads if they get the right to do that. There are no shabby houses on River Street. They're all well constructed, taken care of, landscaped. The other thing that happens on River Street, I'm going to be talking about floodplain drainage and public interest, but we have a lot of people that drive down River Street that are trying to find the academy athletic fields. And this is this happens year-round, every season. They come down what was River Street Extension, make a right onto River Street. They sort of slow down a little bit as they see that there's no parking lot straight ahead, that there's fencing all the way around. Then they realize this is not getting to the fields. They turn around in the Locks parking lot, and then 9 out of 10 times, they go about 35 or 40 miles an hour down River Street because they're kind of pissed off that they couldn't find the athletic field complex. River Street is located on the FEMA floodplain AZ. These floods happened, they were supposedly called 100-year floods. Well, they happened 4 times to us in about 20 years. We had to move out 4 times. The land on River Street and probably Brown's Court is that horrible gray-blue clay. And the water doesn't really sink in much. It stays on the top. My backyard stays pretty wet for a long time. Right now, there's 2 drainage for water on River Street, and the last one is about 3 houses down from myself. So the water from the street drains into my driveway and then down into the back of the house, all the way down to the river. My concern about this development is with 4 driveways, roof lines, that there's going to be a lot of water shed onto the street, and a lot of that's going to go into my driveway because there's no storm drain near my house or in between my house and the locks, which is the last house. Right now, if you've driven down River Street, you might notice that there's a pool of stagnant water that usually happens after a pretty serious rainfall. And we usually get ducks there, too. It does go comes onto River Street from this, it's kind of a marshy piece of land between the Academy Fields and the house, the proposed development across the street. And it takes up a fair amount of space right on River Street. It gets pretty soggy. If it rains a lot during the summer, it becomes kind of a mosquito bed as well. So that's a big drainage problem. I hope that part of this development has some kind of a stormwater analysis of the property because of all that shedding of water, which will come onto River Street into this bog, and a lot of it in my driveway. So that's pretty much what I had to say. I am worried about the snow because I don't know where they're going to throw when I plow my driveway, snow blow my driveway, I throw the snow back into my 2 yards on the right hand and left hand side of the driveway. I don't know where they're going to be throwing their snow, given the way this development is set up. They're not going to push the snow forward onto my side of the street. Sure, they can shovel their walkway and their driveway, but I don't know where they're going to throw it, onto the next driveway, or onto the street and expect it to be plowed out. It's not really legal. You have to kind of dispose of the snow someplace on your property. That doesn't look to me like they're going to be able to get rid of the snow. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else?
My name is Stephen Locke. I'm a resident of 44 River Street, the last house on River Street on the riverside. My concern is when I think of a professor that's worked for 10 years at the university, at the school, he's going to probably have 1 or 2 kids when they move over here. And we talk about they have a garage, they have a driveway, but then you get kids involved with cars, and I don't see the space for that. And that's a concern, especially I'm the driveway at the end where everyone turns around. So the other concern I have is we have in this Phillips Exeter Academy housing that was talked about. We have some young kids, and when we come to live in this property, we have no sidewalks in this area. So that's a concern for the safety of kids, especially, as was mentioned before, people who didn't get onto the campus turn around and go out at an excessive speed. So that would be a sidewalk on Browns Court and sidewalk on Water Street. So that's a safety concern, safety and health concern.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, just as a point of order, my client has asked that we've now heard both the board's initial comments and public comment, including the letter that we've had a chance to scrutinize, and I'd ask that we be able to withdraw this application without prejudice.
At this time?
Yes.
Okay. Would you be interested in continuing to listen to comments from the abutters and other residents of the town who are here this evening prior to terminating the hearing this evening?
Certainly want to be respectful to everybody's time here. We do have the letter that was provided as well as having heard, but if Madam is up there and wants to speak,
I would
will
prefer
certainly
to
listen.
allow the residents who've come out this evening to speak, allow you to absorb their comments and integrate them into whatever you might decide moving forward.
Yes, sir.
Out of respect for the members of the board that are here, the volunteers of the board that are here, and the volunteers from the town that are here.
Understood.
All right?
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, just so I understand, you're saying what actually just transpired?
What's transpired is that we'd love to continue to hear the comments of the members of the public who are here. However, the only vote this board will take is to accept their decision to withdraw the application. So the application will be withdrawn, but I still think it's important that the
Okay.
residents have a chance to fully state what it is that their concerns or benefits. I mean, some of the people in this room might be all in favor of this. I think it's important that
Okay,
the
thank you.
applicant hear and integrate that information into whatever they decide to do with this parcel in the future.
And the applicant has asked to withdraw with prejudice, which would allow them to
Come back.
come
Without
back.
prejudice.
Without
Thank you.
With, yeah, that's what I, is that not what I said?
You mumbled a little. You mumbled a little.
I should have brought water.
opposite, but
Anyway,
that's okay.
and so I think this is the,
Okay.
so I think Mr. Chair's point is that if, people to make their points that they may want the applicant to hear.
Right.
Okay, thank you. I'll be brief.
No, you're addressing us, not them.
Okay, sure.
Your name is?
Carolyn Locke. I live at 44 River Street.
Okay.
I'm attached to Steve Locke, who just spoke
Okay.
earlier. I want you to know that I really enjoy what exists across the street from us now. There's been reference to the fact that it's not particularly attractive. I think it's a wonderful place for dogs. They've fenced it in, and it's a wonderful place just to walk and relax. And I think we need more spaces like that. So I think Exeter is missing a golden opportunity not to refine what they have there. The other question I have is...
Nothing stays undeveloped forever.
That's true,
It is
yeah.
a lot that they're entitled to build on.
That's
The
true.
question before us is how much are they allowed to build there?
I just wanted to let people know
Yeah.
it's really not an eyesore. And the buffer that they're referring to, I enjoy hearing the students. I mean, we knew we were abutting the property, the tennis courts when we moved there, and I love the
No,
playlist.
when you moved there, the tennis courts weren't there.
Yes, they were. No, when we moved there, we just moved 3 years ago.
They're not 40.
I'm
You're
sorry.
not the 42-year
No,
person.
no.
You're the 42-year. Got it.
He's a
Sorry.
lot older than I am.
Oh, all right. Got it. No, it's not.
So I really, that has never been an issue.
Okay.
The students are extraordinarily respectful and very engaging. So the other question I have is, there is a gate at the end of River Street, and I'm just curious to know, one of my concerns was how often that would be used.
A vehicle gate or a
Yes.
pedestrian gate?
It's generally maintenance. I think they do a lot of lawn work occasionally. Not
okay.
a lot, but that was one of my other concerns.
Okay.
But we love having them as neighbors.
Great.
And certainly, it's not an issue of NIMBY.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Appreciate it, Ms. Locke. Would anyone else like to address the board?
I'll be quick. My name is David Wold, and I live at 22 River Street.
How do you spell your last name, David?
W-O-L-D.
22
And
River, thanks.
22 is right at the end of the River Street extension. So we're not an abutter, but we are a neighbor.
Thank you.
And I think the question I had has been pretty well addressed, which is related to hardship. And so my question was going to be to you, what about the lot represents a hardship? And from what I understand, there has to be something that is unique to that property that suggests a variance is reasonable. And it strikes me that the hardship in this case might be more the need for the institution to have housing for its faculty than it is regarding the lot. So my question to you is, to what extent is it the lot that has to be a problem versus a need for the owner to have that property be developed a certain way? So that was my question. And just to make a note of it, that my understanding is that the Academy bought that property in 2011. And at that time, as far as I know, they would have been aware that it was zoned for single-family homes. And that they were able to make that work in O'Neill Court fairly well. So my understanding is that the lot itself has to represent some sort of hardship in order to meet that demand. Is that correct?
That is true. However, as you heard the discussion, lot in this case is now 50 acres. Right. Which may in fact work one way or the other. There needs to be something I can read to you, special conditions of the property that distinguish it from other properties is what creates the hardship. It is not the conditions of saying we don't have enough housing. That is not a factor.
Okay.
That's a factor in other concerns that we might have in terms of impact, neighborhood, et cetera.
Understood.
But it is not, hardship is created by special conditions of the property.
Okay. And one other question for you was, am I right in understanding that a housing shortage does not come into play in terms of a variance, that citing some sort of shortage within the housing stock does not necessarily qualify as a variance, for a variance?
The conditions of the community, that there's a housing shortage in the seacoast, does not impact our decision.
Gotcha.
It's not public welfare?
No.
Well, yeah, I don't think a decision has been, I don't think
there's case law that indicates one way or the other.
Yeah, I just think I do want to be careful about those types. I understand the questions and I appreciate it. We need to decide it on the specific facts of this application, and I'm hesitant to go too far because they have asked to withdraw, so.
Understood.
Yeah, I think my learned colleague has probably answered better than I did.
Okay.
By not answering, but.
Thank you.
By saying I shouldn't have answered it.
You were so close to an it depends.
Yeah, I know.
You said it.
Wanted it, but.
Lawyers are not allowed to talk to each other. Knock it off.
And how long?
Are there more lawyers? Hey, Lars Holzman, Holzman. I'm a resident at 34 River Street. I'm in a butter.
34?
34.
34,
Yep.
thank you.
I'll be quick. It's just, I think the comment on diminutive adjustment due to the big campus, what we've been talking about with the lot, is the one that I found most telling, because I think, if you look at the direction of travel of the neighborhood generally, and as we consider future plans, it's really important we respect that. If we treat it as that large 50-acre lot, there's a lot of room for housing. Look how great that is, right? If you look at that, a lot of the houses have been getting redone, turned into single-family homes that are nice, and I don't think it's in the spirit of the neighborhood in the way that it's proposed.
You don't think the development of the
No, and I think future proposals, as they bring it back, should be in the spirit of the neighborhood as it's being currently developed. A lot of the people sitting here have recently redeveloped their homes into single-family homes that are quite nicely done. So if we look at what's proposed there, it just doesn't look like it, right?
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. Interesting comment. Mr. Holzman, I didn't catch your first name, sorry.
Lars, L-A-R-S.
Thank you. Part of the reason we ask for this is that we do have to have official legal minutes of any meeting, and the person who's going to be transcribing it needs to know who people are. Would anyone else like to make comments? Come on, you're down here. Giving you a shot.
Gave up your St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, you gave it. Well, it's not too late to go home and have it.
My name is John Prue. I'm here representing Brandon Tetler, who lives at 31 River Street, a direct abutter.
Your last name is?
Prue.
P-R?
P-R-O-U-L-X.
And are you in a butter, or you're here on behalf of?
I'm here on behalf of Brandon Tetler.
Okay.
So he sent me a document of concerns he wanted to voice, which most of all have been touched on already. So I just wanted to reiterate the few points. They haven't really represented a necessary hardship, which was just touched on, but, what other options have they explored here? What else have they proposed to do? Have they looked at single-family houses? Have they looked at?
That's not part of this app. We have to deal with the application that's before us.
Okay. And then there's the density and the setback from the specific property. I don't know if the setback was at 31 requested. Is the variance requested at 31?
31 what?
31 River Street
For that board.
for the abutment.
31.
Oh. No, it was on the other side.
It's on the other side.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, just touching on the density. Obviously, his house is right next to the new proposed development. So where there's already limited space, I know it's already been touched on many times in this meeting, but
Okay.
Especially with the snow removal, I can't imagine that just having the driveways will reduce the impact that the density of these houses bring. So.
Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Anyone else? Please.
Thank you. I'm Cody Wawero.
And you're going to have to spell that for me.
Oh, of course. Waweru for the last name, and the first name is Kui. Koi.
Okay.
And I'm on 38 South Street.
38 South. Okay.
And so we're the ones right coming into Brown Court. So my entrance.
Street.
So my entrance is right through Brown Court.
Okay.
All right. So my biggest concern here was with regard to what felt like overdevelopment for that small space. Just thinking about Brown Court and what we have right now, even the garbage trucks have to back up. A lot of cars have to back up because they don't have room to come back. And we have young children. We have pets. Some of them have special needs, the kids and so on. And so my biggest concern was no matter how much we were looking at providing paveways and so on, that's still not going to be enough. And I wanted to feel the assurance that our children, our pets, our neighborhood will continue being protected, being safe, and being the environment that we really went out to keep them safe and to give them, the best livelihood and neighborhood we can give to them. And then some of us also work from home. And I realize that construction is only for a certain time, but we want to bring this to the attention that it is critical that the neighborhood that we went into, and I think a lot of us did that for the peace of mind, is protected through and through in whatever we choose to do. So again, having 8 units, and I know you're calling them 4 units, but it's 8 homes, probably most of them with at least 2 adults, and on a single family area, and I won't talk about the lotting, that just by itself, just thinking about Brown Court, that is a lot. And we really want our families, our livelihood, our safety, our traffic, and so on to be considered.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Hi there, my name is Bonnie Linscott. I live on Bow Street. My property on Court Street butts up to the PEA. And I want to talk about a little bit of the history, which is hard for me. Sorry. 3537 was in my family. And the house that was there was a 2-unit house, which was quite capable of being on that side of River Street. On the opposite side is Brown's Court. If this does proceed, the 4 units that they're talking about is very overwhelming to that area. And being on Bow Street, some of that does affect me, even though that my property butts Court Street to PEA. But regardless, looking at that is 4 units on each side. That's very overwhelming, as everybody has stated here. If they want to revisit this, like the possibility, that's why we were still asked to speak, something like was there before, a 35 and a 37, 2 units on each side would be less conducive, would be less overwhelming, would be less overdeveloped, and make it a little more realistic to the other members of this area, and be respectful of their homes and our families and our pets and kids, and not be overwhelming to that whole, being a dead-end street. Back in the day, those end streets were actually open. So we, we call ourselves townies, but we were able to sneak through, and we were able to access and walk through the grounds of the academy, because it was gated, but only for foot traffic only. No driving through that property, because it was private. It is theirs. It is part of the school. And we understand that. We've always respected that as a town in this particular corner that is shown there. And I understand that it's not an eyesore to look at what it is now. It's very pleasant, like one has previously said. We don't have enough outdoor. Everything seems to be building and building and building, and now the kids have outdoor deficit disorder. They need to get outside and understand trees and dirt and rock and being outdoors. And that's what that gives it. But if they are deciding to move forth, maybe instead of a 4-unit on each side, make it a 2-unit on each side, and do a little compromise on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Scott. Would anyone else like to comment? Yes, ma'am, please.
Hi, my name is Kathy Forbes Fisher. I live at 36 River Street. And I really just wanted to thank the board for your thoughtful questions. I wanted to thank our neighbors for getting together, and we took a lot of time and tried to thoughtfully respond to the proposal, and I appreciate that you took the time to consider it, and as I said, to have the thoughtful questions that you posed today. So thank you again.
Thank you. Nobody ever thanks us.
I know. Really? It's kind of nice. Gives me the warm and fuzzies.
Especially applicants. They never thank us.
No, that's not true either.
Anyone else like to speak? Hearing none, I will give you the opportunity if you'd like to make a comment at this time. If not, we will take a motion. We'll make a motion and.
Again, appreciate the board's time on this, and certainly appreciate the neighborhood for coming out and voicing their thoughts on the project.
Okay. Thank you. At this time, would somebody like to make a motion to allow, I think we should vote on this.
Sure. Yeah.
To have them withdraw?
So
Make a motion
they've
to-
said enough, and now it's up to us? Is
Yes.
that- Okay.
Yep.
I will move to allow to accept the applicant's request to withdraw without prejudice.
Well done.
So moved. Any second, please?
I'll second.
Moved and second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, 5-0. Thank you very much for being here.
For the record, that'll be both of our applications to be taken separately.
Yes, we never got to the setbacks. That's correct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you to members of the public who've come out. And the board has one bit of business left, which is the approval of the minutes, which you gave me and I need to find. So we're going to vote to approve the minutes of the January 20th, 26 meeting. It will be myself, Laura Davies, Laura Montagno, Kevin Baum. So we do have 4 members here. I read through the minutes. I did not find anything.
I did. I read those.
I didn't either. Can I just ask if people are, I'm happy to have you continue the conversation, but out of the room so we can do the minutes.
We just need to hear ourselves here.
Thank you.
They're not paying attention.
I know, they're not.
We cleared out all the quiet folks.
I did not find anything. Laura didn't find anything. Motion to approve the minutes of the January 2026 meeting?
I move we approve the minutes from the January 26, 2026 meeting.
Second?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. 4-0. Minutes are approved. I hope everyone has had a chance, or will have a chance, to meet our newest member, our newest alternate, Adam, who's at the far left. Lovely to have a new member on board. Thank you for coming out this evening. We'll get you voting soon, I assure you. Motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn this evening's meeting.
Second?
Second.
All in favor of adjournment?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you for
Thanks,
tuning in
everybody.
to Exeter TV. Exeter TV is the town's public and government access channels, available on Comcast Channels 6 and 22. Channel 6 is your channel. If you have an idea for a program, want to host your own talk show, or submit a film, we're here to get your content on television. On Channel 22, we bring you live and replay coverage of government meetings and other town updates. A third channel, Blue Hawk Media, is operated by SAU 16 and can be found on Channel 8, with all your school sports, events, and meetings. You can watch Exeter TV online at exeternh.tv, Apple TV, and on Roku. Find us on social media for extra content. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell to get notified about live streams and new content. Tune in to our platforms every other Friday to watch the Exeter Biweekly Report, with recaps of recent events, updates from town departments, and messages from nonprofits in your area. If you head to our website, exeternh.tv, we invite you to sign up to our newsletter to receive monthly updates about new content, upcoming meetings, and more. We'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch Exeter TV and hope that you tune in to our other content as well.